DIGO Studio, a Chicago-centric show, the place where it starts, covering today's topics, new authors, pop culture, trending topics, and of course, politics. Our topics are engaging, controversial, and authentic. This is where real talk takes place. We are going to bring it out with a fresh perspective, a hip view as we just talk about. Indigo Studio presents real conversation about topics of the day. Hermene Hartman and Shannon are the co-hosts, and we welcome you to Indigo Studio, making talk in vogue again. New show, new look, new people with viewpoint bringing it to you. Let's make talk real again.
Hi, I'm Shannon Peoples.
I'm Hermene Hartman.
And we would like to welcome you to our talk show, Indigo Studios. Today we're discussing the shooting and killing of Black Chicago teen Laquan McDonald by white police officer Jason Van Dyke, his conviction and his attempted cover-up.
So we're going to talk about urban violence, and we're going to talk about it with two men who played a very, very serious role. We're going to be talking to Reverend Gregory Livingston, Coalition for a New Chicago, and Pastor Marvin Hunter of the Grace Memorial Baptist Church. He also is the uncle of Laquan McDonald, the young man who was shot 16 times in the back in Chicago. Let me kind of give a summary of the case before we get into our discussion. On October 20th, 2014, Officer Jason Van Dyke shot 17-year-old Laquan McDonald 16 times in the back. At first, when the case appeared, it appeared as though it might have been a case of self-defense, or was it murder, or was it a cover-up from the get? For the first time in 50 years, a policeman was charged with murder and found guilty after a month-long trial of second-degree murder and 16 accounts of aggravated murder, and he was found not guilty of official misconduct. In Chicago, on average, every 5 days, a policeman fires a gun at someone, and too often that someone is a black male. These cases are routinely covered by the media, and a code of silence and sometimes a cover-up occurs. But this case was different. The community got involved. The case immediately went to the streets. Marchers marched downtown Chicago on the Magnificent Mile, chanting 16 shots, and called for the resignation of Mayor Rahm Emanuel and the firing of Police Superintendent Gary McCarthy. McCarthy was eventually fired, and Emanuel decided not to run for mayor for the third time. Was there a cover-up from the mayor's office? It's one of the questions we're going to put to our guests today. But before we do that, let me give you a little more information. This case was politically charged from the get. Freelance journalist, a young man by the name of Brandon Smith, filed a Freedom of Information Act with the Chicago Police Department asking for the videos on the night Laquan McDonald was shot. The CPS refused, citing that an ongoing investigation was occurring and they could not be released. On August 5th, Smith filed suit against the CPD, asking for release of the videos. On November 19th, Cook County judge ordered the release of the tapes. December 1st, Mayor Rahm Emanuel fired Gary McCarthy, superintendent of the police department. The case went to trial in September of 2018. A verdict was rendered guilty on October 5th, 2018, guilty of second-degree murder and 16 accounts of aggravated battery. The case changed Chicago politics. Marches took place in the streets. Chicago got a new state's attorney. Chicago got a new police superintendent, and Chicago getting a new mayor. Would there have been a verdict of guilty had the video and the dashcam video not been released? These are some of the things we want to talk to our guests about today.
So what we saw is that there was a tale of two cities. And we knew that if we went on a weekday at the start of Lollapalooza with the Cubs baseball game playing on the beautiful north side of Chicago with a bunch of West Siders and South Siders and everybody else who wanted to come along, we would get some attention because we were going after them in terms of this is the money area. You don't see shuttered businesses. You don't see blocks with foreclosed homes. Everything is thriving, and there's a reason for that.
Now, you were persistent all along in asking for the resignation of the mayor and the police superintendent. Why was that so important to you?
Well, for one thing, the buck stops with the mayor. He can't put a Chinese firewall between himself and the police department. Everything stops with the mayor. He's in charge. He controls city council. And the things that he did that went along with that to suppress the video in order for the benefit of his reelection. That was wrong. And now that the verdict has been rendered and Laquan's death has been rendered a murder, he legally covered up a murder for the benefit of his reelection.
There seems to be two set of laws here, one for black men, and one for white men. It seems as if it's been said that if Laquan had just surrendered to the police, we wouldn't have this situation. I've seen situations where there's been a white perpetrator, and what they do is they expend every way possible to de-escalate the situation. They try to talk them down. They make them offers, and if force is needed, they just use just the amount to incapacitate the person. They shoot them in the leg. It seems as if with people of color, they just come in with shoot to kill.
Well, let us deal with recent history. A white boy shoots black people, and they take them to Burger King's before they arrest them.
Correct, I saw
shoot
that.
9 black people injured.
And they take them
And took them to lunch.
They take them to lunch. But here's where God had begun to take me. I said, well, okay, Lord, show me what created this. And it was when I was sitting in the courtroom, and one of the police officers that were testifying against Jason Van Dyke under immunity, she had gotten caught lying on her report, and so there was a federal investigation.
And she was black.
She was Hispanic. However, she said that when Jason Van Dyke shot Laquan McDonald, the first phone call that she made was to the FOP. And when she said that—
And can you break down for the viewers, what is the FOP?
FOP is the Fraternal Order of Police. That is the union for the police officers. And what I discovered was that the FOP's contract is really not a contract. It is actually a law. Now, some people say, well, he's wrong. Well, I need to expound on it.
Indigo Studio presents real conversation about topics of the day, pop culture, politics, authors, where you meet people where they are and recognize who they are. We will talk to who's who. Take a look behind the scenes with the movers and shakers to present informative, amusing, with notables and newbies. We showcase trends and emerging personalities with cutting-edge celebrities. Hermene, Hartman, and Shannon People are the co-hosts, and we welcome you to Indigo Studio, making talk in vogue again.